Hey guys, Alex here, creator of the Crockford app, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you've been absolutely loving the workouts we've been doing, but something that's really important for me and especially for you is that you're not just working hard in the workouts, but you're doing the exercises with the best form possible. And because this is a relationship where I'm training and I can't see you, I want to make sure that you're always on top form with the technique. So I'm going to be doing these exercise tutorials, these how-tos, so make sure you check out the playlist on my channel called How To and you look at the exercises that might help you. Today I'm going to break down the dumbbell bent over row, so let's get into it. Okay, the dumbbell bent over row. What is it good for? What is it used for? It is a back exercise. When you're doing any form of row, you're working your back, so especially the dumbbell bent over row. Before we pick up any weight, this exercise is all about hip hinging, like when you're doing a deadlift, like when you're doing a kettlebell swing. This is all about hip hinging. So you need to learn this position where we're not squatting down. A squat is bending at the knees and the hips. A hip hinge is predominantly a hip tilting position where your bum goes backwards and you're tilting from the hips. The knees, of course, soften and bend a little bit. So that's the first thing we need to get right, is hip hinging here. And now we're facing the floor. We can come down to a position where our torso is almost parallel to the floor, or maybe just a little higher up with a slight angle. From here, the knees are slightly bent. You might even feel the hamstrings and glutes engaged. And when you're lifting heavy weight in a dumbbell bent over row, you have to make sure the glutes and hamstrings are engaged, because they're going to be protecting the back and being part of the whole exercise. The next major focus in this exercise is the position of your spine, of your back. One of the biggest mistakes I see in any bent over row is this rounded back position. And if you're rowing from here and lifting any weight, you're going to put a lot of stress on that lower back, not where you want to be. So when you've got that hip hinge, you next need to lengthen the spine and keep a straight back. But you also don't want to overextend into this position either, because that also loads the lower back too much. So you need to find that mid position where you've tilted from the hips and now you have a long spine. And you don't drop the shoulders here and you don't arch up. You are in the middle, a long spine. So you've got a nice flat back. From here, the arms should hang naturally underneath the body in this position. This is already a tricky, tough situation to be in if you have a very weak lower back. So when doing a bent over row, I hear a lot of people say, my lower back hurts in a bad way. Not the lats, not the arms, but my lower back. And that is normally because either you haven't spent enough time there to build the strength in the lower back and you're lifting really heavy, so now your lower back is screaming about it. So focus on good technique, consistency in that position, and making sure that the glutes and the hamstrings and lower back are having good workouts outside of just the bent over row, and that you're not lifting crazy weights either. And the whole body and the whole chain will strengthen and strengthen as time goes on. So let's now focus on what's happening in the rowing position. So now that you've got that hip hinge, the flat back, the arms under your body, we don't want to be rowing directly straight up into the shoulders. So here we are in a position here. From here, we don't want to see rowing straight up. That would be one exercise to work the upper traps, but instead, if we're focused on the big back muscles, the lats, what we need to work to get the best engagement out of that muscle is a lengthen and then a shorten. So if we've got a lengthen of the lats here, we need to shorten by pulling the shoulders back and driving the elbows down your back and up as high as you can. If we're rowing up here, we're not getting that shortening in the back muscle. So from here, the shoulders need to come back, elbows back. Think about pulling up your leg into your back pocket, okay? So it looks like this. Rowing elbows down your back and up high, and then dropping back. You can get that length and you can drop the shoulders without dropping the whole body. Drop the shoulders, keep a long spine, and then lifting up. Make sure that you're getting that squeeze at the top. You should not be lifting such a heavy weight that you can't hold and you just fall, the weights are just falling down. Remember, a lot of muscle growth happens from having that mind to muscle connection and also the control of the eccentric portion. So when you get to here, squeeze and then control down. Obviously, depending on the workout that you're doing, but having that control is absolutely key. Okay, so the next thing we need to talk about, the different options that you have with the dumbbells. Because we're not doing a barbell bent over row, we're doing a dumbbell bent over row. Of course, we have a normal palms facing in, but we can also have that natural movement, whatever movement feels good for your hands to rotate to get the elbows up higher. You can also turn the palms facing this way to work a slightly different angle, palms facing forwards. Biceps are going to have a different contraction as well, but the same applies. The elbows come back, the shoulders come back, not straight up. And lastly, a little trick for you that you can only do with dumbbells and not with a barbell. Obviously, the higher that you row, the better contraction in the back. But if you're holding a barbell, the barbell can't go through your stomach. So, to get extra range, even with the dumbbells, because the dumbbells stop here too, is to drop the dumbbells in this angle and then row up. And you can row much higher in the elbows coming up high with this angle in the dumbbell. Oh. Something else which is absolutely key to the bent over row is core engagement. If we're down in this position and your stomach is just inactive and you're not really focused, that's how the shoulders can drop. That's how things get floppy. Your lower back isn't engaged because the stomach isn't protecting it, that deep core, that transverse abdominis that holds that position in. So think about your belly button being sucked in, engaged, tight, strong onto the spine. That's going to be the protection and to build strength. This is a strengthening exercise for the core, one of the biggest ones you can do. From here, when that core is engaged, you have a strong position to then row and work the back. Finally, we can look at leg position varieties as well. So we've been doing just a standard hip width apart, tilting from the hips here. You can also go for a slightly more squat variation, so a bit more bending at the knee and with a wider stance in the legs. And this is good if you want to switch up and work the legs a little bit more with the back, or if your lower back really is sore and it needs a bit of a rest, you can go into a more of a squat variety. But when you're in this position, you can drop in the squat a little bit lower to get the quads, the glutes working a little bit more. Everything about the row remains the same. Okay, there we have it, the bent over row with dumbbells, one of the best exercises for your back, especially whilst at home without the gym equipment. But make sure you're nailing the technique, staying safe, staying effective during these workouts. I hope you enjoyed that video and you found it useful. Give the video a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, and download my free Crockford app if you're looking to get training at home at gym with me. Okay, thanks so much. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.